What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a live duel from locals with myself on Yubel on the right and Kyron on the left with heroes. So we start off with opening of the Spirit Gate, searching out Dark Beckoning Beast, and then of course we're going to be moving our plays further from there. So as you can see, I won the dice roll and decided to go first. We start off with Dark Beckoning Beast, and this is kind of one of the biggest weak points of Yubel. If it is hit with something like an Imperm or a Veiler, you can still play around it because you do have that ability to turn it into a Mirage, and then that gives you the ability to trigger off the Spirit Gate in order to revive said Dark Beckoning Beast, and its effects will then be re-intact, and that will give you the additional normal summon, but it does burn through one of your hand cards, or card advantage, and you're going to be able to see that here. So obviously it gets hit with an effect Veiler, not so much the Mirage kind of route of play, but you see how we can start adapting around it. Now we go in Nightmare Throne, and the reason that we probably should have started off with Nightmare Throne if you was fearful of something like Drawn Lockbird, because if you get hit with a Drawn Lockbird after you've searched out Samsara D Lotus, you can still make plays, because obviously Spirit lets you set the card rather than adding it as well, and you're still able to kind of move through there. Sadly, Nightmare Pain won't allow you to add a card, so it is a bit of give and take. But you can see we've got the Samsara D Lotus, we've also hard opened up the Nightmare Pain, and this is how we're going to be able to play through an effect Veiler. So we'll use Nightmare Pain, we'll destroy the Dark Beckoning Beast, we'll search ourselves out a Grave Squirmer, and in doing so all we need to do is use an additional discard, and that will allow us to revive the Dark Beckoning Beast with its effect for an additional normal summon intact. So that's how we can go for an additional normal summon of Samsara D Lotus and use its effect to get us into Spirit. And you'll see that because we've already opened up the Nightmare Throne, we're going to be, not Nightmare Throne, sorry, Nightmare Pain, we're going to go for a Mature Chronicle. Now, obviously, one of the mistakes you'll see a little bit later on is the fact that I decided to discard the Ash Blossom. I think, if I remember rightly, my hand was Super Poly hard opened. Was it Super Poly hard opened? It's another spell card. But obviously, I didn't want to discard the Mature Chronicle. Unfortunately, because I had already used the Opening of Spirit Gates, I couldn't discard the Mature Chronicle and then add it back to the hand because of the gates, because obviously it had already been used. So we're going to be using Nightmare Throne after destroying our Spirit of Yubel off of the back of the Grave Squirmer, which will allow us to get Yubel and Terra Incarnate to the board. So we're kind of playing into Nibiru territory here, but at the very least, because of the brand new card Phantom of Yubel, if our opponent did Nibiru us here and was main decking Nibiru, then of course we'll still be able to end on a Nibiru token plus a Phantom of Yubel. We went with the assumption that they didn't main deck Nibiru, which is a bit of risk of give and take dependent on, but I feel that with the kind of format that we were in and the local environment and everything else, it was a risk I was willing to take. So we're going to go to Yama. Yama's going to search out Savara. So the current board, as it states, unfortunately because of the glare, it kind of hides a little bit up, is Dark Beckoning Beast and Opening of Spirit Gates. We're going to go into Phantom of Yubel, so now we are pretty much protected from monster effects. We've got the Shavara. Shavara will allow us to destroy Yubel and float into a Terra Incarnate, which is why it's so important to be recycling your cards like Terra Incarnate and Yubel back into the deck, because you can get them back out of the deck very easily through multiple forms of destruction. So when you've got stuff like your Grave Squirmer, you've got stuff like your Shavara, everything else like that can help you cycle round. So we're going to link both of those together. We're going to go into Rage. Rage will now allow us to grab, or Shavara will allow us to grab the Abominable Chamber, which is obviously going to be your technical revival of Rage, should I choose to use it as link material. And I'm pretty sure in this one I decided to go for a Free Negate Appaloosa, just because it gives you a little bit more forms of interaction. Like, you've already got Phantom, so there's going to be 5 cards to need to deal with, and the idea is that you want to get your Omni Negate to deal with a spell or trap in the form of the Veratus, and then of course you'll end up with a Appaloosa, which will deal with 3 monster effects, your Phantom, which will deal with a 4th monster effect, and then of course you're going to have the Abominable Chamber, which will bring back Rage to then link with an opponent's special summon monster, and then go into SP Little Knight. So again, you're just adding more forms of interruption to the end board. Now, obviously, Veiler is only one hand trap that we've had to play through. It looks like Kyron has specifically decided to hold onto an Imperm, which sometimes is the risk and reward, because you kind of go, right, okay, well, if I activate the Imperm as well as the Veiler at a certain point and risk them hard opening up other options, will it kind of end the turn then and there? Or do you hold back the Imperm so that you can try and bait something out, which, in fairness, like, there's no way that you can guarantee that, oh, he's opened up Nightmare Pain, oh, he's opened up like a Grey Squirmer. You just never know what else could possibly be in the hand. So we're ending the board on a set card plus a Chronicle. The set card, of course, is the Abominable Chamber, a 3 negate Appaloosa, a Varadus, and of course a Phantom of Yubel. So we've got an Omni Negate, 3 monster effect negates technically with Appaloosa, and then of course we have the monster effect adaptation in the form of the Phantom of Yubel. Plus we've got Throne that will allow us to float around when we destroy one of our cards on the board, which unfortunately it doesn't get triggered by... I don't think it gets triggered by... Let me just double check because I'm pretty sure it's... So Phantom is tribute this card. The activated effect becomes its tribute as cost, and I'm pretty sure Throne is if it goes via card effect. So I'm pretty sure that the tribute cost does not work. If a face like Yubel monster you control leaves the field by a card effect, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's tribute as cost, so it doesn't trigger. But you're still able to use Throne, and you use it quite well, to be honest. It would be amazing if it did kind of trigger, but then I also do like the idea that Phantom does tribute as cost, because there's times where you're able to dodge like imperms and everything else, unless they preemptively hit you with an imperm, which can be pretty damaging. But a lot of people try to hold back the imperm and then hit you with a Nibiru, and then that's what you're kind of looking for. Anyway, imperm was activated on Appaloosa. Varadus then decided to, or I used the Omni Negate of the Varadus. They opened up the Fusion Destiny, so this is where I was referring to earlier. I was like, damn, this is where I really wanted to, probably should have held back that Ash Blossom, but made the decision not to do so, because it was kind of like when I looked at my hand and having to play through the Veiler, everything else is a little bit more effective for me, and it was the risk and reward of, do I feel my end board will be strong enough to deal with what they present me with, or do I feel that I need the Ash Blossom? So we've gone Fusion Destiny. Now this surprised me a little bit as well, as he went with Dystopia, which was an interesting choice. So I was expecting DPE, which is why I didn't use Rage to bring back with Rage, because as soon as I bring back Rage, attempt to use Rage's effect to link with DPE, you just chain DPE, and then obviously I'm forced to use an Appaloosa, or he just summons out DPE, I activate the effect to bring back, and it's kind of like baiting forms of interaction, which didn't really... Like, I kind of felt that even if he got DP on the board, the idea would be that it kind of puts him in a bit of catch-22, because if they use DP early, it means that Rage can come back, Rage will start linking off with whatever else gets added to the board. So, Dystopia is still interesting. Like I said, I was expecting DPE, and the way that Kyron kind of explained it is, if he had gone for DPE, because there was always... Appaloosa and Phantom to still interact, DP, there was no way DP was ever going to resolve. And once DP gets negated and doesn't leave the field, you just end up using Rage to link it off. You go into SP, SP then banishes another card, whether it be from a grave or field. And obviously one of the cards I could then decide to banish would either be Malicious or Denier. So at this exact moment in time, it's basically just holding back the last negate off of Appaloosa, and of course the Phantom negate, until it becomes a position where it's like, okay, cool, now I need to actually use these cards. The Rage being in the graveyard is quite an interesting one, because I feel that, again, that could have been another target for an imperm, or if they opened up multiple imperms, that could have been a bit of an issue. But, I mean, the board's quite resilient at this moment in time. Appaloosa is definitely putting in a heck of a lot of work on this one. So Denier going to put back, we use the final negate and Denier, using Cross Crusader to tribute off the Mali, which is checking if it's tribute as cost, which it is. So tributes off the Mali to search, and it's kind of like, well, there's one card left in the hand, what could that one card be? We'll activate Phantom, we'll turn it into I Destroy Yubel instead, and yeah, there's not, oh, there's one card, 2 cards left in hand, and it's like, the normal summon's already been used. You can see that unfortunately they've hard opened up Miracle Fusion and Original Neos, which are 2 cards you don't ever really want to see. So I think it kind of ultimately comes down to game now, because Varadus, even though Appaloosa doesn't have any attack stats, there's still just the ability to rebuild the next turn. So we move into game 2, and surprisingly enough, they decide to let me go first, which I was half expecting them to be playing Dark Angel, because I knew that in a previous round they played the Dark Angel, gave it to their opponent, and I was like, ooh, that's quite a painful thing to be stuck on, because straight away it shuts down your consistency cards, it shuts down your searching cards, and really what it requires you to do is go Dark Beckoning, and then search out a opening a Spirit Gate, and then you have to link off the Angel plus the Dark Beckoning in order to get into something. And the thing with that is you can only go into your generic links 2s, and the only generic link 2s that you're really playing in a Yubel build is Muckraker, because your Yama needs 2 Fiends, so it just doesn't really help. Unfortunately on this one, I decided to get a little bit greedy. I should have taken the Call by the Grave, And I should have known that Vela was coming like I did in game one. I was like, So I quite joke, well, not even jokingly, seriously go, yeah, I should have known that. And what I should have done is off of Throne, I should have gone for a Grave Squirmer because then it would have allowed me to continue to extend. And unfortunately, I did take out Almirage before I started this tournament. And it's definitely something that I want to put back in because obviously in this scenario, if I had Almirage, I could have gone Dark Beckoning into Almirage, discard Samsara, bring back Samsara if I wanted to, and then I go full Yubel combo. So lesson learned on this one 100%. I'm definitely going to be putting Almirage back in. It's just one of the ones where like, the reason it got cut was like, it's very specific. It's very specific to kind of deal with. And I was playing Cross Out in this version of the build. I was like, Cross Out I'll deal with Imperm. But completely forgot about stuff like Mourners and Veilers. Unfortunately, again, for Kyron, you can see that the hand hasn't been that great. Like, hard opening up a Poly. Of course, Ash Blossom helps with the Fusion Destiny. And in this scenario, it's kind of been nice that he's hard opened up the Poly and the 2 Destiny heroes. But even then, like, no normal summon of your hero monster. So no access to a Hero Lives, no access to Stratos. Like, the board that I was left with should have been completely obliterated by Kyron. Like, if that last card in his hand was a normal summon, like, he saw Mali and Plasma. Like, seeing Mali's not the end of the world, but seeing Plasma, it's kind of like if that was anything else, if that was a Hero Lives, if that was a Stratos, if that was a less so a Shadow Mist, but even then Shadow Mist, you activate Poly, you still make one of your fusion plays, and then of course Shadow Mist triggers to get you the search you need. So DPE swings in for 25, 24, I can't remember what DPE's attack stats is off the top of my head, but DPE's effect, pop the Throne, and then again this just kind of epitomises the difference of luck. Is my top deck was a Nightmare Throne, and it's like, okay, DPE comes back, and it's like, okay, well, now you're in a position that you know I've already got Samsara. We start off with Throne. If you chain DP and get rid of the Throne, Samsara just goes full-on Yubel play anyway. Which, it wouldn't be a bad thing to do because the full-on Yubel play doesn't really put a boss monster on the board. We've already kind of... And we haven't really gone through anything yet. So, like, we can still do the Amber Whale OTK. Like, you know, Amber Whale OTK off of the back of the Veratus still gives it and everything it needs to. So it's one of the ones where it's like, well, do you just like search out a Dark Beckoning Beast, normal summon Dark Beckoning, and then you go DPE to destroy it? But then as soon as you do that, the opening of Spirit Gates has already been searched, it's already being used, it's already being summoned, so you continue to keep making your plays. Which is what's really good about Yubel, is it's one of them ones where it's an old school deck that has been given decent modern support that does allow them to play through. Now, obviously, pure Yubel is definitely playable, but the addition of cards like Unchained really do kind of modernise it. And I would like to think that if you were to put modernised decks into GX eras, or go back in time, or even bring Yubel to modern era, I would like to think that Unchained does seem like a deck that Yubel would be piloting as well, in my opinion. Like the Dark Beckoning Beast is pretty much part of it anyway, it's part of the GX era, so it fits in very nicely. And I feel that I could definitely see Unchained being the modernised version of it. Anyway, so we go normal summon Samsara Delow, so you activate the Effect Veiler. Again, this is very interesting to me, is like, it could have activated the Effect Veiler on the Dark Beckoning, which again would have put me in the exact same position that we were previously, because there was only a Dark Beckoning in the graveyard, so I would have had to use Gate to bring it back and everything else. So we instead decided to loop back the Samsara, which was a bit of a misplay on Kyron's behalf. He even kind of admits that, and then we just go Spirit. I can't complete the OTK here, but we're basically just going, okay, cool, Spirit off of Nightmare Pain, get me Yubel and Terra Incarnate. We've got the Grave Squirmer, we can spin into a Phantom at any point if we want to as well. Like, ideally what I want to do is I need to kind of get that Terra Incarnate off the board, so that I can spin it back, get my Phantom of Yubel, and then use Grave Squirmer to pop Yubel. And again, I do kind of vocalize this in the actual recording, where I was like, oh, I linked off the wrong monster, because I was too busy like thinking about Yubel when I really should have been getting rid of Terra Incarnate. I was like, I spun back Yubel and I spun back the Dark Beckoning, whereas I should have used the Terra Incarnate and spun the Terra Incarnate back, so that when I use the Grey Squirmer, which is Shavara or Grey Squirmer, there you go, right there, so you can see the frustration. I was like, damn, I linked off the wrong monster. You want Terra Incarnate being put back in the deck so that if I destroy Yubel, it would float into the Terra Incarnate. It would have just given me a bit more board presence and advantage. But luckily for me, that misplay doesn't cost me. Definitely, after playing this duel, I needed to think about Veiler a lot more. And like I said, that's where Almirage is definitely going to be coming back into play. I just think it actually adds quite a lot. So until we can get like another Link one that could be just as effective as Almirage for Dark Beckoning Beast, then, you know, you kind of have to use it. It's just a shame that Almirage doesn't really do anything for you. And what I mean by that is it just lets you turn your Dark Beckoning Beast, but then you still have to use the Almirage's effect to trigger it off to get it out of the extra monster zone. And then you still need to get an additional fiend to the board, which is obviously, it means that your opening hand would need to be a Dark Beckoning into a Gates into the Dark Beckoning. Then you need to link off that first Dark Beckoning into Almirage, bring it back by discarding a card that is not the Dark Beckoning Beast that you've just searched, and then get your additional normal summon of said Dark Beckoning Beast. So as this currently stands, we've got a Terra Incarnate, we've got an Appaloosa with 3 negates, and then of course we've got the Phantom of Yubel. Obviously Terra Incarnate and Phantom of Yubel is not doing anything. Opponent has no cards left in the hand, so we're just going to swing in off of the back of the Appaloosa, and then we're going to be linking off the 2 into an SP Little Knight, and we're going to banish the DPE. And this actually turns out to be massively beneficial for me, because I'm able to make the second Phantom of Yubel, but by using SP to banish the DPE, DPE is forced to resolve, because it says activated when it leaves the field, and then it resolves during the next standby phase. So as long as there is a Destiny Hero in the graveyard to resolve, unfortunately, they have to do so. So they do have to bring back the Mali. And it's like, okay, cool, well, now Mali has to crash in order to get it to the graveyard. So being able to revive it, it's like, yeah, you don't get your free summon as much as you need it. And it's just like, okay, cool. So as much as he would like to crash the Mali is then forced to attack the Yubel, or the Phantom of Yubel. So they'll ultimately just take damage and be from there. Anyway, this is going to lead into the game, but thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and happy dueling.